You're listening to Retail Remix, your inside access to candid conversations with the people shaping retail's future. Here's your host, Alicia Esposito.
Summer is in full swing, and that means our retail think tank is back again. Now, for those of you who don't know, Retail Think Tank is our content hub where we share some of our highest value resources and our deep dive conversations on what's new and what's next in retail. And a big part of our hub is our Retail Think Tank ideation sessions. These are candid, deep dive chats with some of the industry's top minds and top practitioners. For our first installment, I sit down with Sharon Guy, who has worked with some incredible brands like Alibaba and has literally written the book on all things e-commerce innovation. She is the author of E-commerce Reimagined, and she has become a top voice on how platforms in China, such as Temu, Shein, and yes, Alibaba, are really changing the game in the world of e-commerce. So, of course, we talk about some of her study and analysis of these companies, but also some of the emerging trends that they're really accelerating, one of which is virtual influencers. Now, we've been covering influencer marketing and the creator economy quite a bit on Retail Touchpoints, but I truly believe this world of virtual influencers is a game changer. It shows a completely new world of content marketing, of customer service, live streaming, and even what it means to create IP around your own identity. It's a really multi-layered and even philosophical conversation because you're not just talking about the business of your identity or the business of your face, your voice. It really represents a new way of thinking about how we represent ourselves or can represent ourselves through digital channels. Now, keep in mind, this little teaser is just a taste of our full 40-minute conversation. So listen in, get to know Sharon, but if you do want to get the full scope of our chat and get into some of those philosophical musings and nuggets of wisdom, be sure to click the show notes. There's a little blurb there. It'll take you to the hub so you can sign up and not only get access to Sharon's interview, but our full library of resources.
You know, I've been really digging into these different applications for AI, the opportunities, especially at the service level. So there are a lot of retailers as of late that are trying to integrate AI into that, service aspect, whether it be, everyone refers to the chatbot, but what excites me is like how granular and contextual that can actually get when you consider the consumer themselves, their past behaviors, their preferences, demographic information, but also the input themselves, like what they're actually asking for, right? Like how detailed that output could ultimately be. And I guess that leads me to the next really big trend that we're starting to see pick up steam, which is this entire idea of AI avatars, virtual influencers, or, just AI representatives, right? That really kind of bring this idea to the next level. And, a lot of folks are talking about, TikTok testing this. And I wanted to get your thoughts, but I guess before we do that, can you expand upon virtual influencers, like what they are, how they work? I feel like I did a very bad job of setting the stage there because like, obviously you kind of live and breathe this every day. So I'd love your more specific definition, if you will.
The funny thing is, and I think it's sort of coupled with a lot of things in AI right now, also, AGI as well, is there's no specific definition because it's just so new and it's such a new concept. But what I can tell you from the China perspective, how they look at virtual influencers, or what I've found is it's two cases. So the first case is where it's a entirely designed new character, almost like when you're writing a book and you just wrote about a new character. You design how they look, you design their speech patterns, what they like, what their age is, where they're from, how they were born, where they live, like this entire storyline. It's all created and birthed out of either a brand who's created them or one of these influencer companies. So that's sort of one type. I wrote about a lot of them in my book called E-commerce Reimagined, where a lot of Chinese brands created their own virtual influencer, and they come from very many different names. For instance, if you've seen a Yayi on Instagram, that was Tmall's influencer. That was the one that Tmall created. That was going to be the face of Tmall. And she was completely fathomed out of somebody's imagination. So that's the sort of call it fake or call it designed, that world. And then I think there's another world of virtual influencers where it's based on a human. So there was somebody, whether it was a celebrity, a KOL, an influencer of some sort, and because we're entering into this more efficient way of doing product placement or just this new model in the influencer or creator world, that it's trained off of a human. A famous example is what I think Twigs has done in the UK as an artist. There's also CAA, which is this creative artist agency. They've signed everyone from Nicki Minaj to Justin Bieber to, I think, Ariana Grande. They're thinking about how do we create avatars based off of our already very prominent celebrities. And that is also another realm of virtual influencership. So you have these two. I think the latter is a little less mature. The first version is a lot more prominent and more used. I think they were really, really used in that when metaverse was a big thing during COVID, with just, I think mostly because of the way that they looked and that they were designed. It was very like futuristic looking, very young, very in tune to, that type of visual. But another, I think, big reason that China had created this in around 2018, 2019 is right around that time, there were a lot of scandals with celebrities. So you might know this guy called Chris Wu. He used to be a huge, huge rap star. He's actually Canadian, but he eventually went back to China, and he represented Balenciaga, Coach, the biggest brands that are out there. And then he found himself in a sexual assault case. And then all these brands started deleting him. And the entire Chinese internet started deleting him and started to boycott all the brands that he was ambassador for. And so it was right around that time. There were several other cases that I think fueled this as well, because in the virtual influencer world, because it's a fictitiously designed character, they will never get into sexual harassment cases, say the wrong thing, ever be canceled unless the creator wrote something that was very controversial. But most likely they're playing in a realm that's very safe and very controlled. And so I think that was why at that time a lot of these things came from China to rein in that control. And then now you see it happening all over the world. So another really famous influencer in this space called Lil Miquela. She's Brazilian. She's this 19-year-old Brazilian girl that's her look is also very trendy. She has like purple hair, freckles, and she's worked with so many different fashion brands by now. And yeah, this space just keeps on growing and spontaneously expanding.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Retail Remix. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on your favorite podcast player. Until next time, keep mixing it up.